evening and welcome to everyone. We welcome everybody who's attending physically and those who are on Zoom today. I'd like to thank those who came. You know, people outside are very busy with their matches, and you are having your own match within yourself. We wish the Moroccan team to win, but we wish you all to win and reach whatever you would like to reach. Your presence is a win by itself. I'd like to welcome also Sister Mona. Mona is a very well-known, so maybe I don't need to say anything, but yet I will say a few words. Mona is the CEO of the Retona Recycling for plastic recycling. She's active member in a group of similar companies. This is on a practical part, on a personal part. Mona believes that our inner power, our inner world are of great value in our life. And she is one of the main members to establish the meditation center, the Harmony House. She practiced in her practical life whatever she learned from the meditation lessons. Welcome, Sister Mona. Please go ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you, Iman. Thank you for the nice presentation. And thank you for your presence. I always say, those who are around, whether physically or on Zoom, there should be something with them that makes you attend. Something drives you to search for a better life. We all have a good life, but how can we have a better life? How can we make it better and better? This means that you are thirsty souls searching for something different than the whatever available outside. Our subject today is about meditation and the role of meditation in dealing with stress. And as the title, Goodbye to Stress, which attracts all of you, actually in English sounds better, goodbye. Today it will be more of a dialogue because I wanted to be more active. So Iman will ask me some questions and then you can interact, you can ask whether you are here or on the Zoom. The questions in the Zoom chat, we'll get it at the end. And those who need English translation, you can get the link from the message. I'm very happy to have Iman also. She's a sister, a friend. And we all pass through stresses and we talk about what we pass through. So I'm glad that both of us are here so we can share our experiences. And I'm sure everybody has his own experiences. It's a journey. Thank you, Sister Mona. As we said, goodbye to stress. And we are saying at the same time, goodbye to the year 2022. So maybe we can have a plan for the next year, how to be less affected by pressure and tension and stresses. Hopefully the new year will be a new beginning. So it's a new year and it's a start of a new journey for the soul. My first question is, what's the definition for stress or pressure, daily pressure? How would you define it? Actually, there is a simple formula. The numerator is the external pressure, and the denominator is our inner capacity. So, how much do I have ability or capacity to deal with the pressure? There are different stresses, whether at work or from people or dealing with deadlines in our work. For certain goals to be achieved. Pressures can be having so many tasks in a very short period that we are loading ourselves with so many responsibilities and tasks to be done. If I have a homework or a project and I have a deadline to finish it, all of these are pressures. Sometimes the people we are dealing with in our work, they belong to different backgrounds. It's not easy always to harmonize. Sometimes I feel that I lack the control. It's crisis management, related to crisis management. So something happens suddenly and I don't know how to deal with it. All these things cause pressure, and it's external pressure. Every one of us has his own experience. So the idea is I have a lot of pressures and I don't have the capacity to deal with those pressures. And this is the main formula for stress. The inner capacity is called also resilience. How can I cope? How can I manage? Sometimes people believe that they have this inner capacity, but they reach to a stage where they get burned out. And this means they are depleted of all their capacity. And sometimes our body gives us signs, stop, stop, stop. And this is a good thing. If we give it attention from the very beginning. But sometimes we ignore it, we continue, and then we reach to a point where we collapse. So the pressure is very high, like the pressure is 100 and my inner capacity is only 10. What we want to reach is to reduce the pressure and increase the inner capacity or the resilience. So that's the other way around, we may collapse. So this is basically my definition of stress. What I want to say now also is the stress is dealt with nowadays as if it's a normal, natural thing. So how can we live without stress? Is this possible? Is this possible? And how can we do that? What tips would you like to give us? What tricks can we use? I believe we can do that. We can reach to a zero level stress because it has something to do with our belief system. We are taught that stress is a natural thing. Some people would say, I cannot work unless I have a certain degree of stress. Because we hear this a lot, it becomes part of our belief system. If you went to a doctor, then the first thing he would say that this is related to stress, because stress is a big factor that affects your quality of sleep, your weight, obesity, hypertension. So the question, can we live without stress? Yes, And I will tell you how. But before I say that, I want to stress on one point, that the stress is not a natural thing, because people believe that they need stress to increase the adrenaline level, and so I can act actively and properly. That's wrong. You know, even the children, they hear a lot from their families about stress. Now the children suffer of stress and anxiety. Earlier, it was maybe after the 60 of age, and it was very much connected to the work and workload. So that's why they were affected by stress and depression. But now it's affecting even the children. Actually, the children are hearing those terminology a lot from the family. Before coming here, there was a father talking to his son, and he was telling him, don't get stressed. The child was pushing the trolley, and the father was telling him, don't get stressed. I was just hearing the language of the people around me, and how we get used to talk about stress as if it's a normal thing we pass through, and being without stress is the unnatural, abnormal. So hearing this language from the very young age, through movies, from friends, from families, build up that belief system within us. Actually, it's not natural or normal at all. You asked me, is it possible to live without stress? So this was, yes, we can live without stress. How can we reach that? As I told you, it's a formula, the pressure on the inner capacity. So the first thing we have to work on is our inner capacity or our resilience. So once we increase it, we strengthen it, then the impact of the pressure will become less. And I will be able to have clarity of how to deal with pressures. So if I have 10% pressure and 90% resilience, it will be 10 over 90. So it's low. If I reach to that stage, then this is my aim. The pressure also have connection to my thinking. Somebody can do so many things within 1 hour. The other person will see that this is too much, cannot be achieved within hours. Each one knows his capacity, how much pressure can I tolerate. So my perception of pressure, my ability to assess my ability, how much pressure I can take. So people differ. Some people will see the full half of the glass. Some people will see the empty half. So let's talk about our inner power, our inner capacity, how to strengthen ourselves, empower ourselves from that point of view. If I'm passing through a certain situation, I should understand that there are external influences that I have no control on it. And this is the nature of life. Knowledge is basically two parts, knowing the self and knowing the drama of life and the laws of life. And the main law of life is that life is changing constantly. We have to understand and we have to accept that, because there's nothing constant. So the one who is seeking happiness should not rely on the external to give him his happiness. Because whatever comes and give me happiness, it can give me sorrow at a certain point of time, because nothing will last forever. So this is the first lesson. Life outside is not under my control. My control is connected to my response. And this is my responsibility. That's why response and responsibility belong to the same roots, the same root word. 7 years back, I noticed me and my sister, Sheikha. And maybe because we have some awareness, understanding for what does the soul mean and that the soul is eternal. And we have certain knowledge. So we dealt with a situation that we passed through 7 years ago in a different way, with ease, in a different way than other members of our family. So it was some unexpected event. But we know that life is changing, and no matter how much you do, things will happen beyond our control. If somebody has pressure in certain relations, certain work, if I did not get the lesson from what I'm passing through, then no matter how much I change my work or the relation I'm passing, the difficult relation I'm experiencing, then the same difficulties will come to me unless I learn the lesson. So the first lesson to be understood is, who am I? If I have that awareness that I'm not this body, my body is just an instrument, I have to take care of it, but I'm the observer. I'm the conscious observer who knows that I have thoughts and I can choose my thoughts. At every single moment, you make a choice of coming. You made effort, and you made a choice to come to the center. So I have to realize that I am aware and I can deal with the stress as observer. Once I'm observer, the thoughts becomes clear. So once I'm detached and I'm observer, there is a distance between me and what's happening. And the language, my language change. Instead of saying I am sad or I'm stressed, you would say, I'm understanding. I'm aware of the stresses I'm passing through. I'm aware I am sad because I have a lot of pressure. Once I disconnect in this way, like becoming a detached observer, that gives me inner calm and quietness. And this helps me to take the right decision. Maybe sometimes I have to take big decisions like changing my work. Over the last 3 years, Corona happened, and I'm working with my brother. He has several companies. He decided to made a big change that some of the managers he will stop them from working, and he asked Mona to come and help him in the management of those companies. During these years, I was shaken badly because there was Corona and so many people resigned, so many trouble and problems happened, and I was trying to, because I love my brother and I wanted to help him. So I decided to stay there, but it was like a ship that's passing through a big storm, and I was passing through really, really heavy stress. How can I find solutions for what's happening now? After 3 years, I have solutions. And one of those solutions was to change the circle of my responsibility. Instead of managing 5 companies, I'll choose only 1 company. When I was within the trouble, within the storm, I wasn't able to have clear decision. When you are under pressure, you need good people, authentic people to be around you, to give you good advice. And this helped me a lot during the last 3 years. And also, thank God, because of my understanding, my awareness of whatever spiritual knowledge, I was sure that it is a transient stress, nothing will last forever. So this helped me also to be strong. So I was practicing being detached and watching my thoughts. I am aware of the stress, I acknowledge it, but it's not me, and the stress will pass. So I changed my perspective and I said, let's look at it as a game. People, when they play games, they want to win. But if they took it seriously, they may lose. There is someone well known, his name is Holigan. He's from East Europe. He was in Wimbledon and he reached to the semi-final. Everything was fun and game-like. Once he reached to the final, he was very much stressed because he wants that championship, but he lost. He lose. Why? Because once you take everything seriously, you lose the game. That by itself is a stress. But if you look at life as a game, take things in an easygoing way, it's a joy. Yeah, we work, we want to win. I remember the Saudi team when the Mohammed bin Salman, the king, the prince, he told them, do your best, do it for fun, don't be stressed. But it was a miracle that the Saudi team won against the Argentina team. They were enjoying it, they took it as fun, they were not stressed, they were not afraid of losing. The same apply on every one of us. When we take things light, the whole life becomes easy. It's like what Steve Jobs said. He has a very famous saying that if today is my last day, then what do I want to do in the beginning of my life? Just think of it. If this is the last day of your day, what would you like to do? Would you choose to be stressed? What is really important? I was thinking of it. The most important is me. How can I calm my mind? And if I'm going to go today, I want to go happy. Sometimes we take life for granted and we say that this is the way we live. But if I have the attitude of thinking in a different way, it's a game, it's a joy, and don't take things too seriously. I was talking with Iman, and this is the first time we inform Iman about her role of this session only today, and she took it easy and she said yes, and she's a good speaker. But you know, if it's the first time I'm giving a presentation, you may feel like anxious. But if I kept in mind that this is a family, it's okay. And if it's not okay, the next time will be better. So the attitude of taking things as fun helps a lot. Yeah. Actually, when it is transparent and coming from the heart, definitely it will reach the heart. As you said, there are things that we learn it from our families, from our upbringing, and certain expectation. We learn how to expect it. That we were like fed by fear and anxiety as if it's part of our food. And once anxiety take control of the person, then even if the person is able to do something because of that anxiety, he will not be able to do it. Yesterday the match between Brazil and Croatia, actually what defeated Brazil was the stress they passed through. They were playing wonderfully. Yeah, even when somebody is going to the exam, and once we finish, we realize, oops, I forgot this or that. Then we realize that later on. It's not that I don't know the answer, but I forgot it. And that's the influence of the fear and anxiety. And our intellect gets closed, totally blinded. Your vision becomes foggy. You cannot see, you forget. We will keep the last 15 minutes at the end for questions, definitely. Mona's saying, yeah, I hope it will be easy questions, not difficult ones. So now I want to ask you, based on what you said, can we be really free from stress and very fast? Or is it a journey that can take time? Actually, we can, within a second, if I disconnect myself from the scene I'm passing through. This means I am releasing myself from the stress. There is a stress, but I am not the stress. I am not stressed. We have to differentiate between the soul and the role that soul plays. So I'm playing the role of CEO, but I'm not playing this role now. So I don't have that pressure of a CEO. Or let's say I'm a mother. So I have the stress of dealing with the kids. And this is another big pressure. Sometimes our desires is the reason for stress. So sometimes our desire creates stress. It's nice to have aims and we try to achieve our goals and aims, but sometimes my desires, if it is unrealistic or unrealistic gains, causes big stress. If I want such a big house and I cannot, somebody's saying go to India and buy a house there. So our desires sometimes are the cause for pressure. See, I cannot control anyone, even my children. So is it possible that I reach to this stage fast? ولكن, but it's a journey, because if I have stress of 100% today, and I gain the awareness and knowledge needed to get rid of the stress, I can reach to that in a second. But to have that stage continuously, this is the journey. But I have to be attentive. I have to keep my attention on to maintain it at a low level. So yes, it is possible, but it's connected to the awareness and attention. You can reach it in a second, but to maintain it, you need to have that awareness and attention. Otherwise, I will go inside the game. I will become part of it, and it becomes serious, not a game anymore. People believe that life is difficult, but actually it has something to do with the way we respond to life situation. Once we finish, maybe we can have some meditation about the subject of the detached observer. You mentioned something about the inner powers. How can we increase our inner powers? in a way that help us to control the stress and to empower us in this process. Inner powers comes first from self-awareness. When I'm aware that I am not the role. Muna is a role. If there is a book, there is a book and there is someone who reads the book. The book has so many information. The book may give the details of the role, but you are the one who is reading. You are not the role written in the book. Sometimes when we meet each other, we ask each other, what's your story today? Means what's happening to you. But are you the story or you are just watching the scenes? Because whatever happening in my story is changing. Maybe I'm in Kuwait now or in a different country. Maybe I'm in a certain relation. I'm in a different relation. Maybe I'm young. I'm becoming old now. So this scene and the story, if I'm aware, then this is a story and I am not the story. I'm the one who's reading the story. I'm not the role. If I'm aware of this, I become on the seat of my powers. If I realize that I can choose my thoughts and I'm responsible for my thoughts, I'm responsible for my feelings because each thought creates feelings. And yesterday I was talking about how sometimes a simple thought or small thoughts can lead us to feelings that's not appropriate for that moment. One day I was listening to a song and suddenly I started crying. I was crying because of very sad feelings. It was about someone who loves someone and then they get separated. It's a sad story, but why it emerged something within me. I sat back and I said, where from all the sadness came from? I'm not in a relation now. Maybe the way the singer was expressing it, I was touched. We as a human being can be affected by so many things around us. Once I noticed that, I said, I should not surrender to this feeling. Within 10 minutes, I went to the kitchen and I cooked something. And I choose a good, happy song. And it worked in a magic way. And I realized that whatever we are passing through is a real illusion. I was sad, I was crying, and I managed to change it in no time. I realized that things within us are created by us. We create thoughts create our feeling, and we feel sad. But if I'm aware, I will say it's a sad scene. Yeah, but I can pass through it. Sometimes we pass really through sad situations. Somebody we love got sick. But I discovered that my inner power will come to me when I acknowledge it, when I realize that I have it. I'm a human being. So the observer is separate. We say that the mind is part of the spirit, but the spirit, the soul, is higher than the mind. That's why we as souls are not our thoughts or our feelings. We're different. So that's why, as a soul, I can see my feeling and my thoughts. I can acknowledge that this is sad, this is not very good. And I can choose to focus on it or not to focus on it, to give attention or not to give attention. Because if whatever you give attention, it will grow. The more you think of it, the more you lose your inner power. So my inner power will come from my awareness of who I am. Now, for this power to get stronger, I have to work on it time after time. It needs time to grow. That's why we wake up early morning, we meditate, we think of how shall I start my day, how to pass my day. So whatever you feel important, you should give it time. Now you can today because you are looking for something to help you. You are looking for a better life. So you give it time, you give it effort, right? Otherwise you can go to the market or to the mall and do whatever other than this. But I think the wise person is the one who works on himself, like give good efforts to his own strength. So the more I work on this, I understand the law of life, like the law of karma. That means whatever I do, I will get its consequence. And we're constantly learning, and this is the beauty of life. We keep learning till the last day of life. Because once you say, I know everything, then this means your journey is finished. And that's actually the role of ego, which is the false self. I was telling Iman till 6:30, nobody came. I said, maybe everybody is busy with the match. But we were talking that once we came here, then we will do something for ourselves. When we talk about it, we are actually strengthening our own self also. Yeah, so the inner power comes from being aware of the self and working on it. So what kind of power can I use to deal with a person who is not very easy to deal with? A person, once we see him, we feel tense, and he has big influence on us. How can we deal with this? How can we overcome this? When I was jokingly saying, yeah, what kind of button can we use to solve this? Yeah, so this person is triggering something within us. That's a difficult question. You know, Iman, we learned something in the Raja Yoga that every person has something good about him. Our innate quality is goodness. So everyone has these good qualities, innate qualities. So if I can see this person through this knowledge, not through the role he is playing. Let's say this person, Nasser, said something I didn't like. So he said something, I didn't like it. So the role, I didn't like it. But behind the role, there is a beautiful soul. There is a nice, beautiful being, and it is there. Now, the role is like that, maybe because he gets used to express himself in this way, like being angry or whatever. I'm not going into details, I don't know. But let's say somebody who is criticizing always, or someone who who's harmful, or someone who's always grumbling. And you know, many of us grumble or complain a lot. Once I liked an event, someone wanted to accompany a lady in her travel. She said, yes, you are welcome, but I have one condition, no complaints. And he was someone who has a lot of complaint. He's a complaining person. So he was aware of that. So it's good to try to see the good things in the person, even if it's not very visible or very obvious, and it's difficult for you to see because you have a history with this person. But try to see him as if you are seeing him for the first time. Try to discover the good things. Try to remember that he's a soul with good qualities. Try to give him excuses, like he came from a family where his close ones were dealing with him in the same way. So he was brought up in this way of dealing with others. So let me be merciful, compassionate. Sometimes if I'm going to a meeting where I'll see the person, so I can imagine that I'll see the person, I make a rehearsal. When I see him, I have to give him vibration of love because he's a thirsty soul. If he has love, then he will not behave like that. So he's definitely empty from inside. So how can I give him that vibration of love and acceptance rather than accepting from him? Yes, sorry, I cannot hear the people there, not very clear to me. But is suggesting to see him as a positive person. She said sometimes the person is not really positive and he doesn't help you to see his positivity. So Iman saying we reach to the end, but it's the start of the journey. What's your advice? What are the points that can help us in our journey? Practical tools. Well, I think the way we start our day is of extreme importance. And sometimes we say, who's the first person I said good morning to this day that will create the whole day? And when we have the awareness of that, we start observing things. Those who are living the usual normal life, mundane life, may not notice it. But for me, because I'm having this journey of searching who am I, who God is, and what's the truth. So I started realizing the influences, the external influences. And I appreciate the importance of the inner talk of the self early morning. I spend at least half an hour, quarter an hour before starting anything, before checking my WhatsApp, before picking up my phone. The first thing, what I'm practicing is that I start with gratitude. I'm alive. Because so many people, they die while asleep. So how to have that gratitude that I'm awake, alive, I'm healthy, I can see, I'm aware. I calm myself. I start with silence. And the morning time is amazing because everybody is asleep around 4 or 5, whatever time you choose. But the first thing to do in the morning, we say that all disturbances are asleep by that time. And because our bodies are part of the nature, there is harmony with the nature. So the sun rises, our body is awake, our mind awake, get awake. So when we are aligned with that time, we feel the harmony. So I observe my thoughts. Usually there will be download of what happened last day. So yesterday I talked to those people, certain situation I passed through. And then I tell myself, okay, Mona, you are seeing these things, but this is not the time for it. No, it's the time for positive talk with the self, heart-to-heart conversation. It's very important to talk to myself in a nice way, sweet and positive. So I deal with everything as observer. I look at the thoughts and feelings. I remind myself that I'm not my thoughts, not my feeling, and I start choosing. And the first question I ask myself is, because you may have a lot of waste thoughts. So I start saying, the first question is, who am I? Once I say that and sitting in silence, I start seeing that I am a being. I have a presence. And this presence is observing the thoughts, the feeling, the sounds of the birds, of the nature. And this being is the experiencer. So by saying that, I build up my awareness that I am different from my thoughts. The second thing is to have a nice relation with God. God, who is the ultimate, the supreme soul. So there is heart-to-heart conversation with God also. So within this time and the status of calmness and silence, I experience the presence of God, the divine presence. And I feel that I belong to Him, that there is a connection and I belong to Him. This gives me power. You can spend hours. If you get to that connection, that will be nurturing for the soul, and you can spend hours. And this will help to create a space between you and the drama. Look at this room. The room is there, but we put the chairs and the furniture. So this space, this room is a space. There are thoughts and feelings, but it's not me. Like the radio and silence. When there is silence, silence is always there. But because the radio was on, we did not experience the silence. I hope the idea is clear. So I have to turn off the radio, which is within me, in my mind, which is called overthinking. It's okay. Don't give it your attention, just observe it. So this is what's called don't mind the mind. Don't bother about the mind. Don't mind the mind. So the mind will continually give thoughts. He's saying the mind creates your own world. Well, I noticed that once I am observer, thoughts will come. But these are the thoughts of Mona, the role, not the pure soul, the pure self. Just for time's sake. After the early morning time, giving nourishment for the soul, then we come to the center to get nourishment, extra nourishment for the soul. And that's kind of knowledge. I listen to something good. Whatever path you choose for your life, reading something that gives you a sense of being alive. For me, I like to start listening to knowledge about the soul. It's nice to read books, but books are the thoughts of the writers. We need them at some point. But at the end, I have to create my own book. So why to read the thoughts of others? I want to create my own book. And you can check through nets or through the YouTube, and you can get so many thoughts and books from it. So this is the second thing, is to get knowledge. And then the third thing is the company. Who are my companion? In Arabic, we say sahib. Sahib means the companion will pull you towards his side. So sahib, companion. Sahib means the puller or the one who pulls you. So it's very important to choose your company. Well, it's if you want to be healthy, hang up with healthy people. So you have to be aware of your companion. You hang up with losers or with healthy people or with good people and so on. And it's important to remind myself during the day, and this is what we call traffic control. Every hour, I check, am I aware at that point? It's night after having meditation in the morning, the early morning, to keep an aim for the whole day. Let's say that during this day, I will say only good things, useful things. And this is how we change. It requires a lot of determination, clarity, and deciding your priorities. Then at the end of the day, before sleeping, and to have a good sleep, I have to hand over everything to God. Clear my mind. If I said something wrong, I forgive. Sometimes we pass through situations that we have to be aware of what's going on within me, my thoughts and my feelings. I have to pay attention to it. Admitted. Thank you very much, Sister Mona. The talk was heart to heart. I appreciate it. It was very useful. I would like to ask those who are on Zoom with us and those who are physically with us, is there any question? Well, Mona is saying it seems those people are not stressed at all. So one of the people is saying, actually, stress comes and goes. So how to concentrate on the good things? And not to give it attention, as you said. Yeah, actually, the attention is the oxygen that we give it to those thoughts. It gives energy to the stressful situation. Any questions from the Zoom? So they are asking for unmuting the people on the Zoom. So if you would like to ask your questions or say your comments in Arabic or in English, please feel free. Thank you very much for the nice session, but based on the positive thinking, sometimes we pass through tough experiences, especially things related to emotions, emotional relations. How can I pass through it? We try to use the positive thinking, but sometimes the negative thinking dominates. So how can I overcome the negative thinking in such situations? Thank you very much for this question. Actually, this is natural because in our subconscious, there is kind of recording that will bring up the negative thinking. But the more I become aware that I am not my thoughts, because for me, this was the big jump. There are negative thoughts, but those thoughts are not me. Who is observing those negative thoughts? It's a witness, and that witness is me. So I'm the witness. It's not me. And the more I practice this, the more I nurture the awareness of the soul, the more I will be able to do this effortlessly in a natural way. Means getting rid of the negative thoughts will happen in an effortless way and naturally, because I'm having that awareness of being separate from it. It's not me. Somebody called Harmony House, she's saying, come in Harmony House, please. Somebody is suggesting that better not focus on those negative thoughts. A question. How can we deal with the stress coming through other people? So if someone's causing us stress, shall we just leave him, ignore him? Well, it depends. If someone is close to us, you cannot ignore, you have to deal with that person. Sometimes it's not wrong if I'm passing through stress. That person behaved in a not a nice way, not acceptable way. It's not wrong to space myself from that person. And then I choose when to open up and talk about it. So it's important to have that experience of introversion. So if that person is a colleague at work, sometimes we say, what's the key for this person? Sometimes we seek attention, and if the person did not give me that attention, I become disappointed, and that causes me stress. Maybe the problem is with me because I'm putting high expectation from that person. And sometimes those whom we consider bad people, maybe they are coming to our life to help us to be stronger, like spiritually, or becoming detached observer. Sometimes we believe that our happiness rely on something external, but actually, ultimately, the real happiness is within. So this is the point we have to watch ourselves. Are we having expectation or seeking something from others? So I have to work on myself when dealing with such people. Sometimes somebody will come asking for something and you give the right answer and he feels comfortable. If you get an answer that is not within his expectation, he may get irritated and cause you irritation on him. Yeah, sometimes we have to create boundaries. We can't just let people deal with us the way they like without responding and being clear about the boundary. Otherwise, we'll be stressing ourselves by not being clear about the boundaries. Yeah, we can put boundaries, but in a positive way, not to create further trouble with people because of creating boundaries. And with time, people will change. They will learn how to change their way of dealing with us. Sometimes it's not right or wrong. It's just people are seeing things from different perspectives. Question from the Zoom. Thank you very much for this nice session. Yeah. So the question is, usually the majority will focus on the negative. So how can I be free of the influence of the majority of people, of the negative thoughts? And how can you show them the quality of your way of thinking? I would be grateful to hear from you. I think anyone choose to start changing his life now. Someone who tries to deal with life in a different way, he will be attacked by people. This is expected. We will hear something that doesn't really apply on us or something negative. But my barometer is my own view of what I'm doing. Is it giving me more peace, more happiness? Because it's not only in Kuwait, but everywhere. Whomever choose to do something different than the majority, he will be like leaving the herd. And this is something not accepted everywhere, not only in Kuwait. For me, I noticed that I started something and I experienced real change, positive change. So many people told me, you will continue 2 years, 3 years, then you will come back, because I was running a totally different lifestyle. But after all these years, those people who were negative or were against me, they came back and said, we noticed the change. You are happier, you are more calm. Sometimes the time is a healer. So I don't need to interfere, just leave them to time. And for me, I have to space myself from those people so I'm not influenced by them. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to leave certain people in your life, but I can, instead of sitting the whole day, I can limit the time I spend with them. Yeah, those who are very close to us, we cannot really be away from them. But starting the day with a self-talk time is of great value to stabilize ourselves and space ourselves from the surrounding. I'm very glad with the discussion, but we are limited by time, and it will be good to have some meditation now. Iman saying, I have one extra question. It's always said that feeling or emotion is energy that should be used. We have to experience it so it can go. Or shall we ignore it? Or we ignore the feeling, like the sad feeling comes to us when we listen to a sad song. So she reflects on the same thing she said in the middle of the talk, that when I cried upon hearing a sad song, yes, I cried, then I became aware of me crying rather than feeling the sadness itself. For me, I just acknowledge the feeling because I'm experiencing that feeling through this body. So usually feelings like start as thought feelings, we can feel it in our heart, in our body. So I should not deny its presence. It's there, but don't mind the mind, and also don't mind the feeling. So I know it's there, but I choose not to focus on it. I want to focus on myself being an observer. Observer means beyond the feeling and beyond the thoughts. So this observer is watching these feelings. So who is this observer? Sometimes we say, when I was young, I did this. And now when I grow up, so you say, when I was young, so who was that? Who was that? Was it a different being? So the most important question is knowing ourselves. That self-discovery is very essential. We know so many things about the external, very minimal about the internal and our true self. So let's have some meditation to experience that. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your presence. Somebody was telling I left the match today and I came to listen to you. I was thinking that I want to be with positive people because I really need it. Now we are passing through match with the self during meditation. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, when we sit together, there is a bigger impact, positive impact. Relax my body. Silence and calmness help us to see. Sorry, the sound is not clear for me. Now we are aware and we understand that we are not the rule. We are a being, non-physical being. I am as full. I don't belong to the physical world. So we can observe our thoughts, our feelings, and be aware of them. When I have that awareness, I get connected to my true inner power. I am an observer. Whatever is happening is a play. I, the observer, is outside the drama or the play. Whatever physical, materialistic existing around us, we cannot really rely on it always, because nothing is permanent. I remind myself, I am the soul. I'm not the role. I can deal with my responsibilities, and I can watch my thoughts and feelings as detached observers. I can do that in a natural way. I can always choose the positive. We have to remind ourselves of God, the Supreme Soul. He's always there for us, and He helps us to remember our true self, our truth. And we can choose to play our role as a beautiful message to the whole world. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Iman. Thank you for the nice questions. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for the Harmony House team. Thank you for دكتورة سلوى من البحرين على الترجمة. I wish you a stress-free life for everyone. We have just focused on our attitude, our frame of thinking. Thank you very much. Thank you. Looking towards seeing you soon, and Happy New Year to everyone.